What's that sound? It's For Amusement Only, the EM and Bingo Pinball Podcast.
Welcome back to For Amusement Only. This is Nick Baldridge. I finished tweaking Gigi. I had her working a few days ago, but needed some adjustments here and there and a little bit of cleaning and a couple of relays. I've got her working now and she plays pretty phenomenally well. So today I thought I'd go over what's involved in the gameplay. When you start the game, all the balls are released from the trough. This is a manual lift game, so you push in the plunger on the bottom right, and it will lift the ball to the shooter lane. From there, if you take a moment to look at the playfield, you'll notice that there are 14 different bumpers, and some combination of 7 of them will be lit. Your goal is to light either all 7 yellow or all 7 red bumpers in order to achieve special. Once you've lit special, you can only collect it from one of the side lanes. Now this is tied to an alternating relay, so depending on which targets you hit on the playfield, it will switch sides. Once you've lit all of the numbers in the red or yellow chevron, it will also light an advanced number in the middle of the playfield. Now Gigi is the first game with a bonus at the end. The bonus only ticks up at the end of the game. And depending on the number of times that you have completed a chevron in the game, up to 5, it will award you different point and replay awards. Your main goal is to do it every single ball. So if you get at least 3 advances, which are the bonus condition, you'll earn at least 1 replay, even if you don't collect a special. Now the other interesting thing about special is that you can collect it for the duration of the ball. So despite the light moving back and forth from one rollover lane to the other on opposite sides of the playfield, if you manage to shoot the ball appropriately, you can collect a special over and over again on a single ball. In practice, this is incredibly difficult. Not to mention that once you drain, the game will light bumpers in the opposite chevron to give you a challenge. So, as each bumper is lit in one chevron, it is unlit or turned off in the other chevron. So this can be frustrating as 3 of the bumpers out of the 14 are pops. And so if you make a mistimed shot and accidentally hit one of the pops, it's likely that it's going to shoot into some of the other passive bumpers and unlight some of the bumpers that you were trying to light. Now all that said, it's much easier to collect a special or light an entire chevron if you're shooting for red. It's harder to thread the needle up to the top of the playfield to light the yellow chevron. But what makes the game interesting in this regard is that there's also alternating lit stand-up targets on the left and right upper playfield. If you manage to hit one of those, you get 50 points when it's lit. You only get 5 if it's unlit. And because it's tied to the alternating relay, this means that for every switch that you hit, it's going to move back and forth. The game uses bell sounds, and there are 2 different bells. sound great. I think, as per usual, the bell sounds are tied in well with the gameplay. It doesn't get grating or annoying, to hear the bells chiming. Another interesting thing about the game, this is a replay game, not an add-a-ball. So your goal is to earn replays. Well, you can do this with various point thresholds. So similarly to most other EMs, you can select the replay level, and once you've crossed that threshold, you'll get an automatic replay. On top of that, at the end of the game, after you receive your bonus from your advances, there's a match. And if the last digit in your score matches the number that the machine comes up to, you'll get a replay. So far, I've earned a replay in each way that it's possible. So I've gotten it from the advances at the end of the game. I've received it from special, and I've received it from match. As this is an EM, the match digit is predictable. It's not randomized. It's based on the number of switch hits. So if I match on digit 9, I can play the game until I'm certain that my score matches, and then intentionally lose the ball on the last ball in order to continue playing. This requires some quick, on-the-fly math, of which I'm not capable, at least on this game. So it's unlikely to be abused. I have heard stories of people playing EMs on location that would do this. I seem to have, or attract, trouble with Gottlieb EM coin circuits. I have 2 wedge heads now, and each one has a different issue with the coin circuits. Gigi, the replay button on the front of the game, will not engage. When I first got the machine, that worked fine. I did have to rewire the coin door. There were a bunch of loose wires. Made certain everything was right on the schematic. Fired right up. Everything was great. Ticked down the replay number on the credit wheel and started a game just as you'd expect. Now the game only starts on a coin drop, which is kind of weird. I've been in the back box and checked the credit unit switches, double checked the wiring on the schematic. Everything's appropriate, everything tones out. Jones plug is clean for the coin door, and yet this problem is going on. My Papa card had been hacked by the operator before they sold it to some home collector years ago to work on free play. How they did this is a bit of a mystery to me. As I've mentioned before, there's no obvious hacking that hasn't been reversed. There are no extra switches on the coin door, which is a typical way that an add-a-ball is converted. There are no extra wires on any of the relays. All the wiring checks out on the schematic for the coin switch onwards. That game has a special feature where you can get 2 plays for a quarter, which I have enabled. So it lights a light on the apron to let you know that you're able to push the start button again and play another game. Well, even with this feature disabled, you can still push the start button and keep going. So I'm not sure what's going on there. The only thing I haven't done is disassembled the 2-for-1 coin unit and cleaned and checked gapping and all that kind of stuff. It's one of those continuous step units, which are, in this case, they use the tiny gear with tiny nylon levers, and they're kind of a pain to disassemble. So, haven't done that yet. That's the only suspect that I have. So, one day when it bugs me enough, I'll get that done. Gigi is a really fun game. I've played it at least a dozen times tonight since getting the shooter rod straight. That was another adventure. I had to cut an old barrel spring in half because Gigi apparently uses a really, really long shooter rod. I don't have another example of a 60s Gottlieb, right here that I can check against. So, thankfully I have a bunch of spare shooter rods of various lengths, and the longest one that I have worked well enough with half of a barrel spring, so that's all good. I'm really enjoying it, and at the moment, can't stop feeding it nickels, or else I can't push the start button, so if you come across one in your travels, I highly suggest you give it a shot. It's incredibly challenging and frustrating in a good way when that one bumper that you need is turned off from underneath you. Well, thank you for joining me. My name again is Nick Baldridge. You can reach me at foramusementonlypodcast@gmail.com. You can find us online at foramusementonly.libsyn.com, and you can listen to us on iTunes, Stitcher, Pocket Casts, on our website, via RSS, and via Facebook. Thanks for joining me, and I'll talk to you next time.